So let's talk about the industry, the IT industry. When we talk about the IT industry, I like to get started by talking about my role, what I do at WSO2. So I'm a technical writer at WSO2. This might not be a very familiar job title that you have already heard, but this is a very important role when it comes to an IT industry and an open source IT company. So what I do is actually preparing user manuals and training materials for WSO2 products and solutions. So when I'm doing things like that, I talk to several engineers, managers, business analysts, and so many technical as well as non-technical IT personnel on my daily basis. And it is obvious that this job requires communication skills as well as the technical skills. So I just want to give you a brief idea, no matter what role you want to play or whether you're already playing it, whether it's a software engineer, an analyst, or a manager, whatever you want to be in this IT industry, you need really good communication skills. And also you need to continuously work on them, on improving yourself to be successful on your career. So with that note, let's play a quick game with Dimitri. Over to you, Dimitri.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ishara. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Great to be here. And thank you very much to all of you for investing your Friday evening for this session to learn more about the importance of communication skills. So, well, it's not all about us speaking all the time. You're going to do some work as well. So I want all of you to quickly take out your phones, or if you have access to a computer, that would do as well. Go to the browser, and I want you to type out these two individuals' names one by one. All right, so you can either open two tabs and do a quick Google search on these two individuals. I'll give you maybe about 30 seconds. Right, so I think that should kind of do it. So let's see what comes up. So Asanka Abeyratne, who is currently the Chief Technology Evangelist Officer at WSO2. So he basically, when you search on him, all the content that comes up is mostly about him, right? So you can see his LinkedIn profile, the bio in the company, and on some of the content that he's created in terms of his blogs, some of the videos that he's been featured in. And we move to Prabhat Sirivardhana. Prabhat is Vice President and Deputy CTO for Security Architecture at WSO2. So once again, him as well, once you do a Google search on him, it's basically all about, again, his LinkedIn profile, all the content that he has put out there. And he's also authored many books, which are basically focused on security. So he's a specialist and thought to be a thought leader in the security architecture domain. So most of his content revolves around that. So what was the purpose of this exercise? It's basically to show you that how important it is to make sure that you build your personal brand, right? So Asanka and Prabhat both. So Asanka basically he more or less deals with technology evangelism. He reaches out to developers itself. Prabhat is more or less along the security side of it, and that's his focus area. But they have a very large follower base, right? So this follower base obviously they follow both of these people because they consider them thought leaders in their respective areas. That's the reason why they have a big follower base. And at times there are instances where a company does utilize the follower base of their employees. In order, so for example, if WSO is pushing out, some new concept related to security, or if there's going to be a release, so Prabhat will push out some content, and that will get the engagement of his follower base onto this release. So where the company leverages on this follower base. So that is why it's important that you do build your personal brand. So now, a question to you, a rhetorical question maybe. Did Asanka and Prabhat, did their follower base drop out from the sky? The hundreds of followers that they have, did they build it overnight? Absolutely not. It was done over time. They had to start from zero and get to where they are at. So why am I speaking about where I started? Because the next few points, we are going to be speaking about how you can build your personal brand and what are the tips. So I'll hand over to Ishara to speak on that.
Yeah. So I can ask you another question like this. How would you feel if you run a Google search under your name and results like this popping up and so many Google hits about the work you did, the books you authored, the articles you've written? How would you feel? It would feel great, right? And what if I tell you you can actually have a future like this, but you have to get started today? And that is why we are here to give you some tips. You can build your own personal brand as an undergraduate and get started right now. That means today. So first tip would be to know what you want to be known for. That is, craft your persona means you need to identify what you want to be known for. Think about the content that you like to write about and have a rough idea about the audience that you want to reach. So based on that, you can start your journey. I can give you a simple example. So imagine you attended the data structures and algorithm lecture today and you found the content amazing. You fell in love with everything, the lecture materials, the content, and you did more research on that. So you go home, spend 2 hours and write a 2-minute blog about that. You share your personal experience, whatever you learned from the lecture and everything you know into your simple blog article. And after a few months, how would you feel? Maybe a student from your university or maybe from some other university come and talk to you about it, about that article. Hey, I read your article, that was so great. I was struggling with that subject and from your article I got a lot of help. How would you feel? How would you feel? Isn't that very inspiring? So that is what you actually want to do. You need to decide who you want to reach and build your brand based on who you want to be and one day what you want to be known for. So that is the first point. When it comes to the second point, you need to choose your platform. So you don't have to immediately go and start writing blogs or make lengthy content on YouTube. No, you don't have to do that right now. So let's take baby steps. So our favorite platform whenever we get a tech question, Stack Overflow. So we always run to Stack Overflow just to clarify a doubt we have, just to find an answer. So let's do some role reversing. And instead of finding an answer, let's give an answer to someone who's struggling just like you. Try to be more engaged with the community like Stack Overflow and Slack, GitHub. You have so much of free platforms where you can collaborate and engage with the community, especially in the tech industry. So try to talk to them and reach them and try to build your brand from there. So once you feel comfortable with that a level of community, you can grow one level up. Try to start creating your own blog content. There are so many free platforms like Blogger, Medium, and even LinkedIn. They're absolutely great for someone who wants to build the brand in the tech industry. So make the most of them and start creating your personal brand right now. Dimitri will tell you what more things you can do to build your brand. Start building your brand from today.
Thank you, Ishara. All right. So next we will focus on have a purpose in sharing, right? So what do you mean by this? So if you take the tech industry or the IT industry as an example, it's a vast domain, right? There are so many areas that you and I can't wouldn't even know how many are there. You wouldn't even be able to count. So you would want to pick an area of where you want to be known as an expert and something that you have a passion for. After all, no one wants to be known as a jack of all trades, right? We want to make sure that we specialize in one area. So if I'm to draw an example from our previous activity, Prabhat. So Prabhat, yeah, his work revolves around the security architecture. And if you see most of the content that he puts out, the books he's authored is around the security architecture. But that's where that's his focused approach. That is where he's considered a thought leader, and that's where he's able to gather his follower base. Next one. So be yourself. So after all, we are all unique, right? We don't have to be someone else. You don't have to copy someone else. You can get inspiration from someone. You can look at how people have built their personal brand and get that inspiration, but you don't have to be them. So be yourself, and most importantly, you have to enjoy what you're doing. Because if you're going to be forcing yourself to push out content or to build your to engage in activities to build your personal brand, that effort is going to be short-lived. Anything that you don't enjoy, you're not going to be able to do it over a long period of time. And finally, So don't limit your brand only to online platforms. So building your personal brand doesn't mean that you sit behind a computer and you push content out. No, definitely not, right? You have to get out there. Of course, during COVID, it's not possible, but still there are online conferences happening, right? So you can present at these conferences. You need to show people how you carry yourself, what is your personality, your physical personality, how you associate people. That is also an important aspect of personal brand. It's not only about the online content all the time. All right, so we spoke about personal brand, and now you may wonder why we club these two topics together, right? So let me tell you why. So let's first take an example. So all of you are from University of Colombo. So let me take UCSC as an example. So just think to yourself, how many graduates basically, or how many students graduate from UCSC during a year, all right? And let's take another hypothetical scenario and say, all right, so let's say there is a job vacancy, a super attractive package, a wonderful company to work for, and all of your batchmates decide, along with yourself, decide to apply to this role. So all of you have the same qualification, the same technical skills. So what is going to determine who is going to get the job? All right. So this is where we speak to something called competitive advantage. You need to have a competitive advantage against your basically when considered with your peers or your fellow applicants. You have to stand out from the rest. There has to be some factor that stands out of yours from the rest. So this is where personal brand comes in, gives you that competitive advantage at interviews and helps you score that wonderful job where there are thousands and thousands of applicants. Okay, so again, I put this quote up because you may think it's not relevant, but the reason as to I put this quote up is basically any business, the goal of any business is to succeed in whatever business they do, right? Whatever business they engage in, to make sure they achieve their goals and their objectives. Now, so in order for companies, so communication plays a key role in succeeding for organizations to succeed. So the human capital of an organization plays a key role in making sure organizations drive towards success. Therefore, the human capital needs to be able to communicate well. The communicate skills are important. So where do you check the communication skills of your human capital or of the applicants who are joining? It's at the interview process. So that is where your communication skills are tested, and the organization determines as to whether the applicants fit in to the requirements of the organization. So I'll hand over to Ishara. She will speak briefly about the interview process, and then we'll move towards the tips as well.
Yeah, just like Dimitri said, a company's and organization's success is directly based on the success of individual employees. That is why most of the companies have a very intensive process of filtering, which we call interviewing process. Let's talk about the interviewing process an IT graduate will have to go through. So, when we get the call for an interview, we get so excited about what's going to happen, how we are going to face the technical interviews first. Yes, that's where we sometimes make a mistake. We actually focus only on the part of the technical interviews on these interviews, and we sometimes forget how our communications skills play a major role even in these technical interviews. So instead of technical interviews, I'll call them the initial set of interviews. So during these interviews, even without you knowing it, your communication skills and several other skills are being tested. So having really good academic skills and having a strong CV got you that far. It landed you on a great interview that you really, on a job that you really want to do. So when you're at the interview, then the next step is up to you, because you want to prove you're the person behind the CV and show all what you got during the interview session. And I would say the major difference between an exam and an interview is during an exam, you can write a piece of code and get 100 out of 100 marks without even speaking a single word. But you cannot do that during an interview, because you will have to voice out your thought process. You will have to explain why you wrote that code, why you didn't write this code, why you chose this logic, and how you came up with that, how you solved the problem. So everything you will have to explain everything that's going on your mind. And if you don't pay enough attention to improving your communication skills, you're going to struggle there. Even if you're a brilliant student, you will have to definitely pay attention to the communication skills. So Dimitri will tell you how your communication skills play a major role when it comes to the final set of interviews.
All right, thanks, Ishara. So in most organizations, the final set of interviews is where basically where the organization determines whether the applicant is a fit, a culture fit, how they would communicate, whether they can carry the brand name of the company. So the first series of interviews is all about your technical skills and your qualifications. So an applicant has to, if an applicant has got through those first series of interviews, which means they have ticked all those boxes. However, the next series of interviews is all about communication, right? So you need to be able to communicate clearly. You need to show that you are a fit for to the company culture, that you're able to carry the organization's brand image, whether it be external, if you're in a customer-facing role, especially that would be really important. And most importantly, also your attitude. So the way whether your attitude is a positive attitude that would help the company, or do you have a aggressive attitude, basically which would be detrimental to the company. All right, so next we will speak about some skills, communication skills, which will help you succeed at an interview. So Ishara, you'd like to start off?
Yeah, sure, Dimitri. So when it comes to a successful interviewer, we say, cracking an interview, confidence is the key. Yes, self-confidence. That's what we need the most. So how do you show that you have self-confidence, even if you might not have it 100% yet? So there are some tricks that you can follow. For example, try to talk slow because it shows that you're comfortable with the environment, you're calm, and you can work and handle and function as usual even under a lot of stress. This is a very good quality that you can show off during an interview. And don't lose control just because you're anxious. Don't lose control or try to feel stressed because you're actually in a very stressful environment. But try to calm down and show that you're actually confident about what's happening around you, about the interviewing session, the interviewing room, and everything that's around you. So the next thing is try to focus on your non-verbal skills as well, like body language and good eye contact, a firm handshake. So don't think that these things they don't matter, because they actually do, because all these good body language shows the mutual respect between two parties. So pay attention to them as well. And the second point is know your facts. This is actually something we are very used to do. So this is you might have already done this, and try to pay more attention and work on this a little bit more. For example, know what your company, know what the company you're applying for is doing. For example, what the industry is, if it's an IT company, what the technology that company is using, and how it is performing in the market. Is it a market leader, or is it a rising leader? So get to know about what's happening around the company in the market, and read about the achievements of the company itself. Then don't forget to research about the role that you're applying for. And I would say the next thing is to match the characteristic and your achievements yourself with the characteristics and requirements that is requested in the role. So if you do this mapping before you attend the interview, you can actually show that you have all the qualities that the role is requiring, and it will be a great added advantage for you. And if this is possible, if you get to know the person who's interviewing you, try to do a research on that person as well, a research on their achievements and the projects they have already worked on. So this might give you a rough idea what type of questions that you will have to face. So if you get the opportunity, do run a research on your interviewer as well. The next point is, this often goes unnoticed most of the time, because when it comes to communication skills, we only think it's only about talking, but that is really wrong, because listening is also a great skill that we all need to have. And if you want to be a good communicator, you need to be a good listener. And the most important thing is you need to show that you're listening. That means you need to show that you're paying attention. It gives the other party that you are respecting the time and the effort that person is investing on you. So it's a great quality that you definitely need to work on. And when you're listening, show that you are engaged, and pay attention to the speaker, and in this case the interviewer, because if you crack this interview properly, this could be your potential manager. So keep that in mind and engage properly. And when it comes to your turn, and when it's your chance to ask questions, clarify any doubts you have, because it shows that you have actually paid attention to the whole session and you have been engaging. And that is the greatest opportunity. You get to control the flow of the interview. So make the most of it and pay good attention and ask questions when you get the chance. Dimitri will tell you some more other tips you can crack an interview.
All right. Okay. So next comes attitude. So when it comes to attitude, it's sort of a double-edged sword, right? So why do I say a double-edged sword? Basically, if you have too little of it, you may be considered weak, all right, and you may be considered that you're not fit enough to carry on functioning in your role. If you have too much of it, if you're considered too aggressive, then also it's a problem. Because, for example, if an applicant tries to gives the impression that they're trying to teach the interview panel or the interviewer, that's not going to work well for that applicant. So it's really important that you do walk that fine line. So you got to, it all comes back again to self-confidence, that you have the correct attitude, and you're not weak, but you're not overly aggressive, and that you have the necessary basically listening skills. Finally, etiquette, right? So when it comes to etiquette, we all know etiquette, we have heard about it so many times, but this is an area that sometimes we tend to lack in. So first and foremost, be on time. Transportation in Sri Lanka, it can be sometimes, can throw surprises. So make sure you're there at least 15 minutes or half an hour early. If you're getting late, keep the relevant person informed. Turn off your mobile. So mobiles is a device that we cannot do without. Unfortunately, during this time, you need to make sure that you turn it off and that it doesn't go off during your interview and disrupt the entire process, and end up you not being able to get the role. Dress to impress. So another misconception. If I know my skills and if I have the qualifications, what does it matter what I wear? No, absolutely not. Because what you wear and how you carry yourself at an interview is how the interviewer and the panel will judge what type of personality you have, and how you will carry in front of your customers, and how you carry the brand of the company. So it's really important that you do dress to impress, and show gratitude. So it doesn't cost us anything to drop an email thanking the interview panel or the interviewer, saying thank you for the opportunity. These are little things that go a long way. These are things that everyone will not do. So remember, we spoke about competitive advantage. You need to do these little things in order to be able to get ahead of all the hundreds and hundreds of others who are applying. And the best part is it doesn't cost you anything, anything at all, actually. So before we wrap up, I think I just want to make one point here. So all these points we spoke of, it doesn't mean that you have to be a maestro in English. You need to have fabulous command of English, that you need to be born with it and you need to be talented with it. Absolutely not. So there is a reason as to why we call it a communication skill. Skill is something you can be developed. Toastmaster Sarika will be speaking more on this later on in the session. So make sure that you utilize all the tools available to you, like the wonderful Gavel Club you have in your university, the online tools that are available to develop that skill so you get that competitive advantage to score that dream job. Thank you, and over to you.